Hi, everybody. It's me, Language Bay, and welcome to my YouTube channel. We're here today with Niyah.
Ja.
Herzlich willkommen. Also ein bisschen Deutsch, ein bisschen Deutsch.
Ein bisschen Deutsch, okay, okay.
Herzlich willkommen, wie geht's dir?
Ich komme aus Philadelphia. Sí,
Okay.
ja.
Und wo wohnst du jetzt?
Auch Philadelphia.
Oh,
Ja, ich
okay.
studiere Universität hier.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool, cool. And what are you studying? I'm sorry, I'm looking at my questions. So.
Ja, ich studiere Linguistik und amerikanische Sprachen.
Oh, wow. Wow. Und das alles auf Englisch natürlich.
Ja.
Okay. Okay. All right. I guess we could switch to English now. Um, that's cool. Wow. So tell me more about linguistics. What exactly, because I've seen that actually when I was also looking to, because I'm studying in Germany too.
Mhm.
I saw that as a major, but I just was like, what? And I tried to like read it, but I wasn't getting it. So maybe you
Yeah.
can explain.
Okay, so it's really great actually. So on a broad sense, you're studying languages and how they're related to each other, how they came about, and
Hmm.
like it's just the science of language. And like within the linguistics like major, I guess, you have like different subsections. So you have like sociolinguistics where you're like talking about how like the way that you speak affects how people look at you or how you code switch and to talk about different things like that. And then you have
Hmm.
like phonology when you're talking about the sounds and just language change over time, and you like learn about creoles and things like that. It's really interesting.
Really quickly, is morphology how language changes over time?
My intro to
I'm
linguistics
sorry.
was
The only reason I asked
right
that is
now.
because
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It was not meant to be like a trick question. It's just the only reason I asked that is because I actually now that you're talking,
Mhm.
I'm remembering I did this teach English as a second language to speakers of other languages course. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I remember those words because I haven't used the certificate. I haven't taught English. So that's why I was like, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Wait a second.
Morphology, I believe, deals with morphemes, and that's like the little like sound bits that come together. So you have like prefixes and suffixes, like how you know that this means this. So you add that onto a word to create this meaning. And yeah.
And that's right up my alley because I did that with English, and I try to do that with all the languages that I learn. I try to learn those suffixes and prefixes that
Mm-hmm.
okay, this suffix typically means it's an adverb, or this suffix typically means it's
Especially
an
when you're like
adjective.
trying to talk and you know like what the word is as a noun or something, and it's like, well, how do I like use it to describe something? Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. That's interesting. I think I would love to study linguistics, like to get a degree in that. Like I would even love to get a PhD in linguistics, but I don't know. I think that's so cool. Oh my God. All right. And so, what are your native languages? Or is English your native language?
Yeah, so my native language is English, but growing up, my mom like infiltrated or like integrated a little Spanish and American Sign Language with me just
Oh,
because she knew
nice.
some of it. So it was just like, like sometimes we'll be talking and, like if we're getting ready to go and it's 5-year-old Naya, and she's saying La chaqueta, los zapatos, and it's like if we're eating, then we're saying like food and we're talking about like, okay, apples and bananas. So
That's amazing.
like the little things. Yeah.
And what made her want to teach you American Sign Language?
So she works at a daycare center where they were teaching the babies Spanish and American Sign Language. And she had learned Spanish like in high school, but American Sign Language she was learning while they were like teaching the babies that. So since she had a baby at home, she figured, why not bring this home for my child?
Oh
So
my God. That's amazing. Okay, so you speak English, you speak Spanish, you speak German, you speak American Sign Language. What else do you speak? What?
French.
French and French. Oh my God, that's
And then for
amazing.
the most part, I can read Portuguese and Dutch just because of like their similarities with my other languages. But yeah,
Oh my goodness. So I have a question. As somebody, as a fellow German speaker,
yeah.
what do you think about Dutch? Because I'm going to save my opinion till you say your opinion. What do you think about Dutch?
I don't know. Like, I have a cousin that she speaks German and she started learning Dutch because she is dating someone that's Dutch. And she said it's like she likes it. It's pretty hard to like learn between the two and things like that. I personally, it sounds so much like a mix between like German and English to me that it's like I don't know that like that's why like when I read it, I shouldn't say this, but like when I'm like reading it and like I'm like because I follow someone who like speaks Dutch and like I'm reading it and it looks like if someone that spoke English was sounding out German and it was like I see like these words and it was like they pretty much look and sound the same. So it's like when I'm reading it, it's like, oh, I understand what this means. I can't produce it, but
Oh my God. Well, the thing is, some of our customers, like we're separated by regions where I work, and
yeah.
some of the customers are Netherlands customers. And
Hmm.
sometimes I'll get forwarded an email and there's Dutch at the bottom, and I'm just like, in the email trail, because one of our sales reps is Dutch, but he
Yeah.
speaks German. Like he doesn't have a Dutch accent. Hallelujah. Because I can talk to him, but he like sounds like a German, like he does. But
Yeah.
because there's another guy, he's a technician and he's Dutch. And like with him, I just speak English. I'm like, I don't even try because I it's very hard for me. And so I'm like, no, I don't even try with him. We just speak English. And he prefers to speak English anyway. He actually told me he doesn't like to speak German as a Dutch person, I guess. But I just I don't know. Like I tried to do it on Duolingo and I took it right back off. I was like,
Mhm.
no.
It
But I
looks
can understand it. These two girls were talking in Dutch and I understood what they were saying, but still, like you said, I can't produce it. So
yeah, that happened to me. I walked past someone and like they were speaking Dutch, and my mom, she always, whenever she hears someone like speaking another language, she goes, "What language are they speaking?" So I'm like listening in. I was like, "It sounds like German, but it's not German. I think it's Dutch."
oh my gosh, yeah. Oh my god, so that's good. Okay, so now I know. Oh, that's 5 languages. Wow.
And I always tell people the more languages I learn, the less I know all of them. So
No, you probably think that. I have to admit, um, I think we as Black women, we have a tendency to like underestimate our abilities, like, and not give them the credit they deserve. So
yeah.
you've come a long way, just being able to do what you do. There's a lot of people that they're struggling just to learn the initial vocabulary of one language, and yet
Mhm.
you were raised already with two, you know. So and then 5. So that's amazing. Um, all right. So then you said you were studying. Are you working part-time or do you have any internships or you just purely focused on studying? Did I lose you? Oh no.
Oh gosh.
Naya, you there?
Question. Okay.
Okay, I don't know, my connection sometimes is a little bit bad,
Yeah,
but
I was checking if it was mine or yours. Okay.
I don't know. Like my internet usually is good, but every once in a while it'll just act up. But
Yeah.
what can we do? But what I was asking was, I said you said you were studying. Are you purely focused on studying, or do you also work as well?
I'm pretty much purely focused on studying. Like, I volunteer a lot. So I
Hmm.
teach American Sign Language at my old high school. And like in the summer, I'm a lifeguard and a swim instructor, and I've worked as like a nanny. Um, but yeah, pretty much I am studying.
That's good. And listen, that's a blessing because if you can just focus on studying and not work, it is so much easier. Let me tell you, I've had to work pretty much the whole time that I studied,
Yeah,
for my bachelor's degree and now for my master's, and it's tough.
yeah.
So, yeah, it is really tough. Um, is there anything that you do like besides studying? Like, are you a blogger? Do you actress? Anything like that?
So in the past, I did do some acting and dancing. I was like in the Thanksgiving Day parade at some point dancing. Um, but that's like one of my like big hobbies, I guess, is that I rap. So I make music. I do both like gospel rap and then like regular rap. I'm trying to
Mhm.
integrate languages into that. Um, but yeah, it's like, but that's just for fun. It's just like an interesting thing to do. You hear a beat, you rap to it, and you move on.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then at my church, I'm like pretty active, and I actually do ASL interpretations of music there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Wow. For real, like you're doing a lot. You're so young and you're doing so much. You making
Thank
me
you.
feel like I didn't do nothing with my life. Oh my gosh, you're doing so much. Oh my goodness, that's great. No, really. And then so right now you're studying for your bachelor's, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then what's like one of your proudest moments? Like it could be language learning related, but it could also not. Like what's something that you're like you're very proud that you were able to do?
All right. Actually, mine is language related. So I think 2 or 3 years ago, I was lifeguarding at this pool, and at this place, half of the community only spoke Russian and spoke no English, and the other
Hmm.
half of the community were like these old, very bright people, and they like pretty much didn't like the Russian community, and they tried to like talk down about them as often as they could. So there was only one guy in the entire facility that spoke both languages, and he was the maintenance guy. So when I realized that like the Americans would like always try to come to me and complain about the Russians and stuff to me, I like talked to the maintenance guy and I was like, you should teach me Russian because I don't want to be on their side of this argument. So he really helped me. He would like teach me like little things each day, and like halfway through the summer I was like holding conversations with like all the Russians, and like yeah, so all the Americans, it was like one of them walked by and I was in the middle of a conversation with one of the Russian tenants there, and they were like, you speak Russian? And I was like, yeah, I started learning it. And it's like my Russian was really good that summer though, but I don't remember any of it. Like
Oh
I
my
remember,
god.
I don't know how that happened, but it's all gone.
No, I was just about to ask you why you didn't say that was one of your languages. Oh,
Literally, like a month after I like did that, I remembered nothing at all. Like I can't even like look at the alphabet completely anymore. I was
oh
able to
my
read it.
god.
I was understanding. It was crazy.
But that's good. Like not a lot of people can do that because I actually know someone I went to high school with. I
Hmm.
asked him, he's not black, but I still asked him just to kind of because Russian is like, also another language that's not sharing the same alphabet as us. And so I
Yeah.
was like, just interesting. And he used to be Mormon. And so the Mormons, they send you to other countries to
Hmm.
do missionary work. And so he did that and they sent him to Russia.
Nice.
And so I asked him, like, did you learn it while you were there? Did you learn it before? He said basically they spent like, I think 6 months to a year teaching them Russian. But
Hmm.
then when they got to Russia, it was like almost like they didn't really learn anything. They spent a year teaching them fundamentals. And he said he really didn't learn anything until they got there and they actually had to like be in Russia and interact with people, watch things on TV, whatever. He said
Hmm.
that he used to sneak comic books because they weren't allowed to, as Mormons, I guess it's really
Oh
strict.
yeah.
So he
Hmm.
said he used to need comic books to read in Russian. Um, and, he used to do little things because he was just like, this is crazy. They didn't really prepare us. And
Hmm.
so he said, I think he said about 6 months, he was like, so the fact that you were already in the summer, like talking, that's crazy.
Thank you. Yeah. It never works that way in any other language. I think it was just like the spite of it, like just wanting to make people angry about it. So
That's crazy. Oh my gosh, look at you.
yeah, I
Look at
ended up
you.
with a lot of Russian candy that summer because they were really excited that I was learning. So they kept rewarding
Hmm.
me with candy.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
God. That's my weakness. I'm so sorry. I don't know why, but I feel like it's something on my mouth.
Oh
Not the
my.
lip gloss, something else. I don't know why. I don't know. Whatever. And then when I like, I don't feel nothing. But anyway, so sorry about that.
You okay?
Um, so were there any opportunities that you were able to take advantage of? Like maybe there was like a school trip or internship or anything like that, any kind of opportunities, maybe you got to, be assistant teacher or something like that, anything. It doesn't even have to be like professional academic, but anything that you were able to take advantage of because of the languages you know.
Yeah. So I think I did mention this. I was able to be called back from my old high school, and they have me like teaching. It's like a small class, like it's
Hmm.
once a week for an hour, and I just come in and teach American Sign Language there, and that's really fun. And just being able to meet so many different people in general, like you really like open up yourself to be able to meet more people than you would when you're monolingual.
Right.
And I remember I was in the Dominican Republic and there was like this little girl and she was about like, I think she said she was 3 years old and she was like Dominican. So she didn't speak any English because, she's three. So I was able to like talk to her because I love little kids because I think they're like so smart and amazing. So I was
Hmm.
able to talk to her. I was like, wow, I would not like, I've never met her if I didn't speak any Spanish. So yeah, just being able to meet people and help people and things like that. Like I've definitely stepped in as an interpreter for a couple of people along the way. Um, yeah, like I was like at a diner and there was a deaf man there and he couldn't get any service because the waitress just kept looking at him and going, "Oh." So like I like, from across the room looked at
Wow.
him, because I couldn't tell because I was like at like eating breakfast with my mom and like I just kept noticing this interaction and I was noticing that he never said anything. So I kind of like looked at him and just like, I was like, "Do you sign?" He was like, "Yeah." So I like went over and I was like, "Are you hungry?" Like, and I was able to talk to him and get him to like order some food. So that was really fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so, and that's so disheartening. I also want to learn American Sign Language too. I'm not sure how that's going to work in Germany, but
Mhm.
um, or international sign language, I could learn that. Um, why you say that?
International sign language, it's international, but not many people actually know it. So like,
Oh, okay.
but I will say that just like English is a lingua franca, so is American Sign Language for the most part. So
Hmm.
like learning American Sign Language, even in like different countries and stuff like that, there's a chance that you'll find people that'll speak it
Hmm.
as well. I know German Sign Language and American Sign Language, they share an alphabet. They have the same alphabet because I was like comparing that the last time I went to Germany.
Hmm. Yeah, the reason why is because I want to be accessible to, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do these doggone subtitles for these things because I want to start doing the subtitles for my YouTube videos.
Hmm.
But I also do want to learn American Sign Language too. And I know someone who's deaf. We only obviously talk through text because that's it.
Hmm.
I caught myself trying to send a video saying something on I forgot what was it. I don't know, but it was something. What did I say? I don't know what I said, but basically I was trying to say like I hope you feel better, and then he said that I said that something like that. I think he said I actually said something like um I did the motion, but the thing is, I think I end up doing like this,
Oh
but
no.
yeah, I was trying, I did it wrong. And so he was just like, I don't know what that was, but, and I said, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to, because no, he was telling me his
Yeah.
experiences that a lot of people like basically force him to read lips and do this and do that. And nobody meets him where he is. Nobody
Mm.
tries to say, okay, I'm going to text you that. If you, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was doing that, like, oh, let me figure out how to say something in American Sign Language and then send him a video. And that was a fail. So I said, I'll try again when I actually know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. but yeah, I thought about that, when he was telling me how he had to let a lot of people go in his life because they're not meeting him where he is. They're just forcing him because he's actually hearing able. So like if you're with him in person, he can hear, but he is losing his hearing. He can hear, but he can't hear like if something's on the TV, he can't hear that. If you're
Mhm.
playing a video, he can't hear that. Like, but if you're in person with him, it's difficult, but he can hear you. And he often has to use like he kind of like has to look at your mouth too.
Yeah.
He says it's exhausting.
Hmm.
Like I wish people would just sign to me or just text me. Just text me. So the fact that, this guy comes in a restaurant and this woman's like, I just was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, how could you? I don't know. Like some people just heartless.
Yeah. And I was like, I think it's just like my background with languages, but I'm always like, I will meet you halfway. Like when I'm like swim instructing and like there's a kid that ends up not being able to speak English, my first thing is, well, what language does he speak? Maybe I know a little, you know?
Right.
It's like, usually I don't because it was Russian, but just things to like add on to my list to know what language I need to work on. So yeah.
I think a lot of language learners think like that. And I think that's why we learn language because we're very willing like okay, they don't speak English. What do they actually speak then? So what do you speak then? That's how we think. I think that's the difference between people who are language learners and people who are monolinguals and content with
Yeah.
that.
I don't understand the concept of being content with monolingualism. I get bored with like speaking only one language all day. Yeah. So I was lucky. In my dorm that I had, there's four of us, and one of my roommates speaks Spanish and English. Another roommate speaks French, English, a little bit of Russian and Chinese. And then my other roommate spoke Chinese, Spanish, and English. So we would have a field day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a match made in heaven.
We literally would play like Whisper Down the Lane, but with
Excuse
languages,
me.
you
Hmm.
know, like switch the language depending on who we were talking to, what like, with whatever the common language was, and just
Uh-huh.
see how it ended up turning, like what the sentence turned into.
Oh
Or
my
if we're around other
gosh.
people, we'll like do that so that we can have our little inside joke. So
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, I loved that. I can't imagine like being somewhere where I can only speak one language always.
Hmm. Okay. I'm looking at my questions. Um, Another question. So you already touched on some of them. You already touched on Spanish. You touched on American Sign Language. You touched on Russian, even though you didn't mention it officially. And you touched on, but how did you use French? How did you learn French and how do you use it?
So I learned French in school. When I got to eighth grade, they put our names in a hat to see if you were going to learn Spanish or French. I got stuck with French, and my entire first year of learning French was just me pouting because I wanted to have been in Spanish. So I learned nothing that first year.
Oh
And
my
then I
gosh.
went to France for a day that
Hmm.
summer, and I realized that I actually learned a little bit, apparently, because I was able to ask like in the supermarket where to find something. So I was like, oh.
Hmm.
I was like, wait. And I was like reading the signs in France, and I was just like, okay, maybe I do want to learn this. This is kind of cool. So
Hmm.
like I went back and like started being like really intent with it. So I took it for 5 years in school, and then I did a semester when I came to college. And then I realized that, once you hit that intermediate and upper intermediate level of a language, I don't like the classes anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, I don't want to talk about art in French because I don't want to talk about it in English. So I'm going to stop here.
Right.
Yeah. And French, I pretty much only use with my roommate or with my brother who speaks some French, but now he claims that he doesn't speak French. So,
Okay. And then did I miss anything? Spanish, American Sign Language, French.
oh, German.
Oh, right. Yes. And then German. Tell me about German.
So I mentioned my little brother. So my little brother is a year and a half younger than me, but he was put up for adoption when he was born, and he was adopted by a
Oh,
German family. So we've stayed in touch, and like we've been pen pals and visiting each other all our lives. So like we've never missed a beat. So, you know, like, and with like us like traveling with each other and things like that, I ended up starting to learn German after the first time I went to Germany, because I think I said this on your live that like the first time I went, I was just like, I don't want to learn this language. It's too hard. So I was like intent on like not learning. I might say a few words or so. But you know, like after I got there, I fell in love with it. So I just started teaching myself German. I was like using all the free online sources because I was a teenager. I didn't have money to spend on this, and just
mhm.
practicing. And then when I got to college, I kind of needed an easy A, so I took beginner's German, and it was really easy. So that's when I realized it was like, oh wait, I got this. And then I went to Germany again last summer and was able to use it more, and just talking with my brother and his family to practice.
That's nice. Oh, wow. That's nice. All
Yeah.
right. Um, when you were learning any of those languages, and you can break it down by language if you want to. When you were learning any of those languages, was there ever a time where you were like, you felt like, oh, I don't want to really speak. I'm kind of embarrassed to speak. I don't know if I'm a, yeah, you ever felt like that?
Yeah, with German. So
Really?
yeah, when I very, very first started learning German, I got on a Skype call with my brother and his family, and I said something, and they just laughed at me. And like, that
Oh
was
my
just their
God.
running joke. And when I went to visit, they just kept with that joke, and I was like, oh my gosh. So for the
God.
longest, it was like, I wouldn't admit how much German I knew. Like, I was like understanding what they were saying, and I would like be able to like message them and stuff, but I would never like speak to them. Um, so yeah, so then when I started taking like the German course at my school, and like, you know, you're forced to, and I realized that, you know, I already knew it and I was good at it. So I was like using it more there and helping like my classmates and stuff. I
Hmm.
actually ended up being able to Skype my German mom and have her like watch our presentation. So that was the first time that she saw me speak German. Um, and she was like, wow, that was so good and stuff like that. So then she like started being more open, and I was like using it more. And when I went to Germany last summer, I was able to like talk and be more into it. But yeah, for the longest, it was just like, I mean, I might say a word for you, but I'm not saying anything else.
Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. Um, was German the only language you ever felt that with, where you're like, I don't want to speak?
Yeah, the other ones I was always like really excited to try and use. So yeah.
Mhm. What city where are they living in? Just out of curiosity.
Um, it's near Heidelberg. It's in like Baden. I don't know if you know what that is. It's in like the
Okay,
south.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
from Frankfurt.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah. I used to live in Heidelberg,
Mm.
so I have an idea. Okay, cool. That's cool. That's not a bad area.
Mm-hmm. It's
Um,
really a small town.
you said what?
It's a really cute little small town.
And it's a twin city because Mannheim is like right next door.
Mhm.
So I often went to Mannheim too. I was studying at the international university in Heidelberg, and then I would, since it was covered in the semester ticket, I would just take the train to Mannheim. I think it took like 20 minutes,
Yeah.
something like that. So I like the fact that it was like kind of like a twin city thing going on. So
Mm,
that was nice. You got to see a lot of good stuff in Heidelberg, I'm sure. Um,
yes.
my other thing was, besides the being intimidated to speak in German. I
Sure.
can't even think. And besides being intimidated to speak in German, um, what would you say with each language was like your hardest struggle that you were like, ah?
Let's see. I would say that when I was learning French, I had a lot of Spanish influence in the background. So it was definitely like getting out of the Spanish mindset and into the mindset. So like, you know, when I first started, my teacher would always get on me because he's like, you sound like you're speaking Spanish. Like, you know, just getting into the accent. And then when I like took it in college, um my like professor, he was Parisian, and he like wanted us to perfect this like Parisian accent. And I was just like, I'm never going to get this French R. Like, it's just not going to happen. You know, I can't do it. I can do it now. So, like, I'm pretty proud of that. But yeah, so for French, it was definitely pronunciation. And for ASL, it was grammar and
Mm.
just getting out of like the English mindset of the grammar, because you really have to like switch it up and get yourself to speak in like ASL syntax and not English syntax, which is hard because you're like in your head, you're going, okay, I want food now. So yeah, so just doing that. For Spanish, I don't think I like came across anything. And I think that's mostly because I had the background in it. And, you know, so like when I started like taking classes or like started learning it on my
Mhm.
own, it was just like remembering that. Um, yeah, I think that's it.
Wow, that's a lot. But it sounds like you overcame them.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. That's the best part when you're like, I was struggling with that, but now
Mhm. It's great to look back and you're like, oh wow, like I used to not be able to do this at all.
it's the best feeling when that's a distant memory. Like I remember, I had that problem with German. Let me tell you. You know the declension, the different cases,
Oh
daddy,
yeah.
das, dem, des.
Hmm.
Ugh. So I was struggling with that. I was struggling with that so much, so hard. I put it down for like a year.
Oh yeah,
Like I
definitely.
just was like, I'm not gonna, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like somebody was trying to explain to me the difference that when you say minds, because
Hmm.
actually that's not a word, it's like slang. But
Yeah.
I mean, it is, but it's not because it was actually on my language exam. It was on the not the Goethe exam, but
Mhm.
on the CLEP exam because I CLEPed out of German. So I basically took a test and I got like a whole semester's worth of German classes credited to me because I was trying to graduate. Because they told me I was supposed to be graduating in December based on my petition, but then later on was like, oh, we miscalculated. You're gonna graduate in May. I'm like, listen, I told my dying grandmother that I'm graduating in December, so y'all need to fix something. Well, we can't just give you credits, Sorry, we miscalculated. I was like, oh no, because I didn't promise my dying grandmother, no, this is not what's going to happen. So I was just
Right.
trying to figure out what can I do, and I remember, oh, the CLEP exams, and I was just like, but I'm not good in like U.S. history and this and that. And then I saw they had a language, and I said, wait a minute,
Hmm.
look at German. So then I just used that in that minds question, like that's his minds. I tried to ask him, I was like, well, how do I know when he's? He was like, um, well, this is he tried to explain it to me. I didn't get it. I mean, I get it now, but I didn't get it then. And then I tried to understand that, and I could not get it. And I was just like, I hope I don't fail this test. And now I understand. Like now I get it, but it's just like the subjunctive in Spanish.
You know.
That really blew my mind. I was and this was by the time I learned that in university in college.
Yeah.
I had wanted to take business Spanish because I was like, oh, if I take it, then by the time I finish, I know I'm gonna be fluent because I already know so much, right?
Hmm.
Because I never really took Spanish in school. I just kind of taught it to myself growing up in New York, dealing with people who don't speak English. But anyway, so I said, okay, I'll know that, but they actually ended up not having it that semester, and I was trying to graduate, and I was like, I'm not going to stay
Hmm.
around. So I took medical Spanish, and the teacher, the professor, he was trying to, um, we supposed to already know that, but he had mentioned it. I didn't know it. He had mentioned it. Oh no, not the subjunctive, but yeah, that too. The conditional. That's what I meant. The conditional, not the subjunctive. But that was a mess too. The conditional was really blowing my mind. I was just like, we will not have it. We will
Right.
not have it. So I couldn't figure it out. Like I even had people at work because we had Spanish speaking people at work, and I would try to practice with them.
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't understand. They tried to teach me too. I was like, I don't get it. And you know what made me get it? What made me get it is when somehow I was reading something in German
Mm-hmm.
and it clicked to me that that sentence I read was in the conditional. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's what they trying to teach me in Spanish. Okay,
Yes.
now I get it.
I try to explain to people when they're like, how do you learn more than one language at once? And I was like, honestly, it's easier that way. Like, whether it's the fact of like coming across it in a different like manner or something, or like you said, like you're just gonna read it and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like that works. Like when I was learning French and it was like we got to like the future tense, and like the teacher introduces, he's like, yeah, there's so many irregular stems for this. And I'm looking at the board and I was like, you writing in Spanish. I was like, the future for to be is ser, okay, and then to go is ir. I was like, you're just writing in Spanish. I got this. Like, no one else is.
I
But
try to,
yeah.
that's one of the tips I give on my, I think I used that on my channel or Instagram. One of the tips I said was use a language to learn a language, because German helps me. German also helped me with, because I know this is hard for a lot of people, but with the two verbs, conocer y saber,
Yes, same.
because with wissen and kennen, so I was like, when I was learning saber y conocer, I was just like, asking teachers, like, how do you know? And then, because I speak German, I never think about
Right.
like using German because I'm so used to it. And then something happened, and I realized, I said like something Kennen or whatever, and then I was like, wait a second. Then I looked at Spanish, and I was like, oh wait a minute, wissen is
Mm-hmm.
saber, Kennen is conocer, and I was
Yes,
like, I got it now.
exactly. I've had like those exact moments of like figuring things out. And like you were talking about like the declensions in German. When I tell you I went through the same process, like I like got to that and I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a sign. This isn't for me. And then like I went back to it, and I will 100% admit I still have not mastered it. But what I've learned from like language learning is that
Hmm.
like when I'm speaking German, you're gonna get whatever declension comes to mind. It's gonna be whatever I feel should be there, and then you can correct me if it's completely wrong, or But I get my point across. Like people understand me, and if I
Hmm.
like make a mistake, it's like, okay, note it. So I couldn't have used it there. All right, so I'll figure this out again later. So it's just like just go for it. I was like doing the same with like when like studying Spanish and stuff, and you're like trying to like get the difference between like the imperfect and the preterite. And it was like, yeah, I could like go through this sentence with like the blanks in and like try to like really think about what it could be, or I can just read it and then see which verb tense like pops up in my head and see if that's right. And
Right.
just like trying to make it intuitive instead of
Hmm.
trying to create such an aspect of like thinking so hard about speaking. Because like if I'm like talking to you, I'm not going to stop and spend 5 minutes to try to like think about what verb tense I want to use right now. You're going to get some word vomit and then I'll fix it.
I will stop and think for 10 seconds while I'm talking to you. And I hate that because I feel like it's like I know what I want to say, but then the thing is it's not that I'm looking for the word, it's that is it Dean? Is it Dean? That's my problem. That's why I make a lot of pauses when I speak German because literally
Yeah.
it's the articles. Is it Dean? Is it Dean? Is it der? Like I and I know I'm gonna do like you. I'm just gonna do like word vomit, like let it
Yeah.
out, and they'll just they'll let me know.
You know how like I saw you like in the beginners like Spanish chat on the WhatsApp thing, and you put like the question mark in parentheses when you're not sure. So I kind of do that in my like speaking, where it's like when I get to like the articles and I'm like something something din something, something. It's like the clear question mark, but like the sentence continues.
Right.
But just know I'm not really sure about that part.
Right.
Like it's clear.
I'm so glad because I had to explain that to somebody. They was like, "What's the question mark for?" I was like, "I wasn't sure about that word, but I didn't want to stop, so I
I thought
just."
that was like common sense.
I don't know. Everybody comes from somewhere different, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But
because I don't
um,
like having to put and I don't know. I don't like having to put English into it if I don't have to. Like I am going
right.
to beat around the bush as much as I can in this language until I get to the point that I was trying to make. Yeah.
I always do. I'm quick to be like, I'll do something. I'll say something like, I'm trying to think of something in Spanish. I might talk to somebody and be like, estoy enojada y como se dice, he getting on my nerves. I'll do that really quick and then go back.
See, like stuff like that is like, all right, I'll switch to English for that because it's like I don't know how to explain what I mean, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely the same way. It's like I'm gonna be like, what did he say?
But people like it. Like people find that to be cool. With especially with Black people, we have this swag that the whole world loves to look at. They export art, they import our entertainment, they import our style. Everybody want to be us. That's another story for another day. But because of that, a lot of them find it cool. Like sometimes I'll say that, like I'll be at work. I mean, they speak German at work, and so one day they were talking about Brückentage. So their
Mm-hmm.
Brückentage are these days. We don't have it in the U.S. because they don't care about us. But they, they're these days. So, like for instance, if the federal holiday is on a Thursday, then you off on Friday too. It makes no sense to go back to work for one day. Or if the federal holiday is on Tuesday, so they call it a Brückentage, a bridge day, right? So that way you have
Mm-hmm.
a long weekend. But it's only if the holiday is on Tuesday or if it's on Thursday, right? So I didn't know this. This was news to me. So I was at work and they was talking about these last year, because this year we don't have, the holidays are like on Fridays and Saturdays, so we don't have nothing. But last
Mm-hmm.
year we had a lot of 4-day weekends, right? And they were
Right.
talking about, and I was like, why do we have 4 day? And they explained to me, and I was like, what did I say? They was explaining to me the concept and that they do it, and I was like, ist das dein Ernst? Das kann doch nicht sein. I'm here for it. And they just started laughing. Like, I do that all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you say I'm here for it in German? You just can't.
Exactly. Like what I like really wanted to like get into is like what my next goal is after I finish this semester next
Hmm.
week is like I listen to like a lot of like Spanish rap and I listen to German rap and French rap too. It's like I want to like go through and just like look at the lyrics because that's where you're gonna get a lot of the
Hmm.
slang and stuff like that. Like these type of like situations, it's gonna come from rap music and
Yeah.
it's gonna come from like watching their interviews and things like that. And it's like I just want to like go through and analyze these lyrics because like I listen to the lyrics and it's like I understand like what's happening and I'm like okay, like this is a great song or whatever. But it's like to actually like make sure I know like I should use this, like I should say this one day, you
Hmm.
know?
It's true. I actually music was one of the main things that I used to learn German, because back when I was learning German, it wasn't even, internet wasn't even that popping like that. Like we just barely was happy checking the emails. Like we we didn't have apps and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to use what was available to me, which was the TV, the radio. I would buy, CDs. I'm telling my age. I would buy CDs. This is when they had the lyrics in the booklet. There was no
Yeah.
rapgenius.com or none of that. So I had to buy the CD with the lyrics. I would buy the CD of like the German artists.
Mm-hmm.
And the rap CDs though, they never really came with, so I had to seriously like listen, like what are they saying? I would ask, what does this mean? What does that mean? And they would tell me like, oh, that's slang. That's not proper German. Like that means this or whatever, but that's not proper German, so you don't have to worry about it. Whatever. So I think that's a good idea. I would love to do that too. My focus though right now is just the listening. I want to get my Spanish listening, my French listening where it is with German. And then once I get to my listening, I think that's a really good idea to like analyze, look at the lyrics, because now we got Rap Genius and all this other stuff. And,
Yeah.
we have this. So, we can look and analyze and look at the meaning. And I think that's a really good idea to learn, like the slang.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. So, my next question. Which of all the foreign language ones, which one is your favorite? Okay,
Ooh,
top two, because I see you taking too
so-
long.
okay, top two: Spanish and ASL.
And let me just clarify. When I say taking too long, I don't mean like I just have this thing that I always make fun of people if
Yeah,
they don't answer right away. So like
no,
for instance, I might ask somebody, I'll be like, "Do you like steak?" And if it take more than 1 second, I say, "You take too long. That means you don't like it." So not that you feel pressed
like
for
if you can't
time.
answer right away, then you know, like,
Right. So I just I don't want you to feel pressed for time or anything because we still got some time. So
yeah,
yeah, I just want to clarify. I didn't mean like to rush you, but I just meant like, oh, you can't. I see you can't decide. So let me just say top two.
I
So I'm
know.
sorry. Say it again. What were the top two?
Spanish and ASL.
Really? Is it because
Yeah,
your mom taught it to you?
you know, I think that there might be like a slight bias. Like it's not something I'm aware of, but I'm like
Uh-huh.
feeling like it might be like, I don't know, like I feel more of a connection with them, and it is probably because of that. But it's just like, when I'm like speaking Spanish or when I hear Spanish, it flows. It sounds so great. Like if I'm holding a conversation in German, I promise you, like getting like halfway through stuff, I get tired of like saying the words, and I just go, especially like when like people ask me like, oh, what languages do you speak? And I'm like, oh yeah, ich spreche Spanish, Französisch, Deutsch, English, Amerikanisch ist like sprechen. Yeah. you know? So it's like I just kind of like trail off. And with French, it's never going to be Spanish.
Oh my
So
gosh. Oh.
ASL is just cool because of like it's a different modality, like to be able to like I'm able to like sign across the room to my mom, and we can like be like talking about people, and no one even thinks to realize that that's what's happening because their conversation isn't getting interrupted, and it's just me and her like, you know? So yeah, I just think that's like really cool and fun.
It is. I mean, I want to learn, but I have to figure out how to put this on my schedule because I do want to take up Japanese and I also wanted to do Portuguese. I went to Portugal
Mm-hmm.
and I tried. I was like, I'm going to Portugal in 3 months. I'm gonna
Yeah.
learn enough to get by. Didn't happen. All I learned was no falo portugués. That's it. No falo portugués, and then I spoke Spanish. That was
Mm-hmm.
my that wasn't my plan, but that's what happened. And so
Like you said, what happened with you with like Dutch and Duolingo? Because I was like, oh, I should learn some Portuguese, since I can like read it for the most part, and I might as well learn a little bit. And I like started, and I was just like, I I don't think it's gonna happen.
yeah.
But I do like my next goals are Mandarin, Russian again, and Arabic. And
Hmm.
then after that, I want to go to like Japanese and Korean and stuff like that. But I do want to like start branching into the languages that don't have our alphabet.
Hmm.
So those are my next goals. We'll see how that works out.
It will. Us language learners can be so ambitious. But the thing is, I'm so proud because you guys share your stories, and it's like you guys all have these amazing stories of how you were like, I just wanted to do it and I did it. And you did it. You did it, you know? Especially like Blair. I mentioned it in the Instagram earlier. Blair popped in for a minute. That was so nice of him. I did an interview, a written interview on him, and he
Hmm.
learned French. Like he just took himself to France. He was like, I'm gonna learn French. Took himself to China, and he became a VP of a company in China with Chinese people under him. A black man.
Wow.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, I share these stories so that other people can know, like, if these people can do these things and they look like me, why I can't do it? I can do it too. You
Yeah.
know, you guys are so amazing. Like, you don't even know.
I remember my mom is actually who told me about your page. And because like when I was learning languages, I have like my family behind me, and they're like, I mean, I guess you can learn a language, like everybody speaks English. I don't see the purpose. Or like,
Hmm.
or if I say something, when I'm like trying to practice, and they're like, that sounds dumb, or like, oh, that sounds like this or something like that. So like, like, so you don't have like the full support. Like they supported me because like this is what I decided I wanted to do. But it's like, and you don't see other people doing it. And like when you're like living in the States, it's like everyone is like, yeah, you're forced to take a language in high school, but no one's learning the language in high school. You're like getting by just so you don't fail or whatever, and that's it. So it was like to actually have to be like the only person really trying to get the most out of everything. It was like difficult. So like when I found out about this page, it was like all these people are really out here, like y'all are either trying to learn a language or y'all already did and like it's working for you. I was like, I needed this when I first started. Where was this?
I needed it. I needed
Mm-hmm.
it. How many years ago? Lord, I needed it 2 decades ago. How about that? For real.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very glad. I hope that, I mean, you've been very helpful too with that's why I thought you was grown, like grown. Because, you was giving some, I was like, oh yeah, that's helpful. That's good. You was giving some helpful tips in the group and, very active. And so that's why I'm just now finding out today you're 19. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm all for like, I'm trying to like share all the tips that I have. Like I think you probably saw like I did the Zoom thing and like
Mhm.
I did like a thing and it was like, here are like the easy tips. Like here's how you create your notebook. Like this is the basics. I was like, cause like I said, when I was learning, I was in high school. I didn't have time to spend money on anything. I was not buying grammar books. I wasn't paying for anyone's quick like tips or anything. It was, I had to figure out how to do this and I was going to
Mhm.
do it. Because I didn't have
Mhm.
money. I wasn't going to like travel to this country and just live there. Like I did have the advantage of like having family in Germany, but like even that, like I think that was more of like an experience. Like I didn't learn the language there. That was just where I fell in love with the language, and
Yeah.
got to appreciate it. So it was like I don't have like the resources that these like companies are trying to sell to me. Like, oh, just go and be like fully immersed and stuff. It's like there are many different ways around it, and
Yeah.
I'm in classes all the time. Like I always tell people the story when I was like learning French, and we got to the word for eggplant and we were like, and I raised my hand and I was like, I don't talk about eggplants in English. I don't eat them. I never had one. Don't plan on it. Why would I learn this word? Like I just feel like it's and then like, and he loved to talk about like frogs and farm animals a lot. So we would always have to tell a story about a frog. And it was like, I don't even think we have frogs in Philly. Like
Right.
I don't think we really have them. So I don't see this being a necessary part. And that's why like I encourage people to create your own, like if you're going to do the lesson plan thing, create it yourself. Like do not look for other people's and don't like worry about it because you're going to learn words that you're not going to use. So
I
yeah,
call
so that's
that linguistic algebra. They teach us
mhm.
algebra in school. When have I ever used algebra since I came out of school? You know what I'm saying? Now, I
Mhm.
will say I have used probably the only thing I probably use is PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I've used that.
Yeah.
I've used converting fractions to decimals.
And
I've
the
used a couple of
percentages and
things.
stuff. The
Yeah, but
percentage is
I'm not
important.
using slopes. I'm not using
Oh
slopes.
no.
You know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
So I just consider that to be like linguistic algebra. Am I really going to, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's what I was writing down just now because I was like, I don't want to forget that. But linguistic algebra, yeah, it's like they teach you how to say these things. And that's the thing what I was saying about um and the live when I was talking about learning it like kids learn like you learn your native language. Because
Yes.
the thing is you're going to absorb what's spoken every day. You're not going to learn this um I sold my mother-in-law for €5.
That's why I don't like Duolingo.
Actually, I do like Duolingo. I will say this. As a person who already learned Spanish, like to
Yeah.
the intermediate level, and learned French to the intermediate level, as a way to get back into it,
That.
yes, I love Duolingo for that. But
Mhm.
with the other languages like Portuguese that I'm starting from ground zero, it's a little like I don't really enjoy it. But
Mhm.
for somebody who already knows, I find it good. Or for kids, it's okay. But yeah, I haven't really
My
found.
yeah, my issue with it is that like you get a lot of people that come into language learning and their goal is like, oh, I'm gonna do Duolingo and then I'm gonna be fluent in this language. And it's like you are not, I promise you.
Yeah, you are not, I promise.
Like I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's not gonna happen. Like you might come out with a little knowledge, but you will not be fluent.
And then my next to last question
Okay.
is the next two. So penúltima, momentito. Mi penúltima pregunta,
Mm-hmm.
¿no?
See?
Correcto.
Yeah.
Only reason why is because I remember in class somehow we got into última, like somebody asked what última was, and the teacher was like, "Oh, it means last. Penúltima means next to last, and antepenúltima means the before the last." I was like, "This is
Yeah.
almost like German with these big words. Y'all doing too much."
Mhm.
So that's why I just thought about it. Mi penúltima pregunta por ti. ¿Por
Okay.
ti? Okay.
Alrighty.
I'm trying because my Spanish, girl.
Okay.
um, my Spanish is it's getting better though. Like the more I'm in the groups now, like I started the groups and
Yeah.
it's getting better. But what are 3 tips that you can offer? I mean, you already mentioned some, but like what would
Hmm.
you say the most important 3 things that helped you with the languages?
I will say definitely making the language your own. So when I say that, I mean whatever you like to do in English, figure out how to do it in your language. So like I think I posted this before is like I want to learn how to talk about natural hair in my languages because no one's lesson plan was going to teach me that. But
Mm-hmm.
like that's something that like I like to talk about. That's something that I worry about. I watch makeup tutorials in different languages. So like anything you like to do in English, do it in your language and you like it'll form a better connection with you and the language. And once you have that connection, like you got it. Like you're going to excel in this language. Two, I think I also mentioned this already, is like you don't have to spend money on a language. Just I don't know, you just have to like create it yourself. Like you were talking about this already, like learning based on what you find like you need to do. And I always like have to like and I guess like enforce the fact that like with language learning you have to like remember the main 4 things, which is speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So when you're learning a language, you need to make sure you have like an equal amount of all 4 of those somehow, some way. So if you don't have anyone to speak to in your language, then you need to like press record on your phone and just talk and give yourself like a little video journal or an audio journal and you know like use that as your practice. And then to listen, find a podcast. Reading and writing, you can either write a journal or read some books, just like anything. And I guess my third one would be, I just had it, wow. Ah! I don't remember what my third one
No,
was.
I'm so sorry.
I know it popped up while I was talking. And then oh yeah, track your progress. Like I'm saying, like if you're gonna do like the audio journal thing, keep them, like save them. Because I know like one of the biggest things with language learning is that eventually at one point you are going to lose motivation, or you're gonna have like like a span of time where you're like you forgot to learn, or you just didn't have the will to do it, or you feel like, oh, I've been learning but I don't feel like I'm progressing at all. When you go back and like look at your old like little journals that you wrote, or like all of your old audio things that you recorded, and you look at yourself and you're like, oh yeah, see, then I could not, now I know language,
Yeah, yeah.
where you like came from and where you are now. That'll be the motivation that you need, and that's like
Hmm.
what's going to help you to progress, like motivation, because that's a dime a dozen. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are
No,
my
you're
three.
right. You're right about that. Tracking progress,
Mm-hmm.
it really does because we are so hard on ourselves and it's very quick to go, oh, I am it's been 3 months, I don't know nothing. And then you go back to day one and you like, wait a second, no, I do know something.
Mm, that's what knowing nothing looks like.
Right. That was
I know
nothing.
something. I might not know a lot, but I know something.
Right. Yes,
Oh,
you're right about that. I never even thought about tracking your progress. I'm gonna write that down. Tracking progress.
I
And
I still have my French one books, and I'll like go back and look at them, and I'm like, I was a mess. It was like, why could I not conjugate a simple verb? Like, it should not have been
yeah,
that hard.
I can't. Yeah, no,
So,
I kept diaries in French and I kept a diary in German.
mm,
And I lost my French diaries, unfortunately, but the German one, I actually I threw them away. I was going through this whole new life thing. And but when I used to look back, like I used to go back to like the beginning
mhm.
and I was reading it like, ooh, oh no, baby, what was you doing? Yeah, no. So you're right about tracking the progress, but I never thought about it. So now I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start tracking my progress, at least with like Spanish and French now, because I can do that now.
And journaling in general is great because, like, it's a reflection. Like, I can journal about my day. Sometimes I'll journal about what I'm learning in the language and like what's not working.
Hmm.
And then when I go back for like my little motivational thing, and it's like I was having trouble with that's so cute. It's like
Ah,
I couldn't catch that.
yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that's so sweet. All right. And then and it's you reading my mind because I actually just did a video. I didn't post it yet. I'm about to post them and then have them auto publish. But I did a video on content and language integrated learning, basically where you learn how to do something in that language. So you're not being taught the language, you're being taught something in that language. So I'm like,
Mhm. I
you
love that.
on it. You on it.
I know. I just followed you on YouTube because like I've been like toying around with the idea of like doing a blog or a YouTube
No,
channel
you
since
have to. Listen, you got
the
to. You have
longest.
to. You have to.
Like I have all this information. Like I want to share this information because it took me like when I first started like trying to teach myself languages, I spent 3 years not learning any languages, but learning how to learn languages and what it meant to be fluent and all that. Like I wanted to have like that foundation. Like I needed to know what I was going to do and like what was going to work and what wasn't. I needed to know all the different methods. Like I had a notebook full of like all the
Wow.
methods and things and all the things that you have to like take into consideration and stuff. And then I started teaching myself languages. And it's like I don't think everybody should have to go through that because that was a lot. I was spending hours researching and it was fun for me, but like, you know, years later, here I am studying linguistics. So obviously that was a passion of mine for the longest. But it was like I wanted to like be able to give out that information so that other people can just have, like one or two sources to look at and not have to surf through like all of the internet.
Right.
Mhm.
I feel you on that. Well, listen, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time out to appear on my channel. You have to start your own blog or vlog or whatever. You have to do something seriously because you have so much good information,
Thank you.
especially you're studying linguistics. So you have that extra scientific lens on it. So you can offer like a different expertise on it than somebody who's just learning for the fun of it because it's their passion, it's that lights that fire inside of them. You have that. So it's like you have the in German they have the thing where they say, du bist ein Kopfmensch, du bist ein Bauchmensch,
Yeah.
whatever. And it's like you have everything.
Hmm.
So you should share that. I think so. Let me know when you do. If you do it, subscribe. There's a couple girls in the group actually. It was like, I don't know if I want to start it. And then people like, start it, start it, start it. And then next thing you know, here's my first video. So go start it. And then I will subscribe.
Thank you.
Mhm. All right. Oh, that's a question I want to ask. How can we keep up with you in social? You being incognito? What are you doing?
Yes, I'm on Instagram and I'm on Snapchat and I have like my music on YouTube. I don't,
Okay, so then I will put the links in the description bar below
yeah.
then.
All right. So I'll send them to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And I guess catch you guys in my next video. Besitos. English Bay.